What's going on, internet or radios or however you are soaking up this uh, bad publicity content today, as we are both in audio and video format. So I guess audio you can play over anything these days, right? Smartphones, pads.
Netcast, Jameson,
Oh,
netcast.
netcast. We are in netcast.
Netcast.
Oh, we're so thematic today. What's going on, Hollis?
Really just a lot of a little bit more Netrunner, a little bit more literature, and a combination of the two. And what do we get? Some happiness, some homegrown, happy literature that makes me feel good or bad. I don't know what to tell you yet. I don't know.
So, we'd like to thank everybody for joining us. If you have not subscribed to Bad Publicity, our YouTube, go do it now. We can wait. We are patient.
Are you done? Have you done it yet?
Thank you very
Hope
much.
you've done
Yeah,
it. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
thanks. All right, all right. Let's just jump right into it, guys. Today we're going to enough with the banter and the jokes, so we can continue all night. But we do here have hardcover versions
Oh.
of Monitor.
Yeah.
So let's go with disclaimer first, right? Disclaimers. We received these as review copies.
Word.
So, keep that under your hat, and remember that when we are talking about this. I think that's what most normal reviewers do, is they disclose that. So, thank you very much, FFG.
Thanks,
uh,
FFG.
So let's dive into this, buddy, and dissect Monitor. Are you normally a book reader, Hollis?
I would say 90%. I don't read unless it's literally I guess job critical.
Forced
I gotta
on you?
read. It's forced on me. Most of the time I am not. The exceptions where I will read something, for my own enjoyment is because there may be a movie out. An example of this would be Sherlock, for example. I watched a Sherlock movie before I ever read any of the Sherlock novels. Period. And that interest led me to read them. And that's usually how it happens for me. Is another medium makes me really interested in a book version of something or a comic of something, and then I want to go to that comic or book and read what actually happens to that character in that story.
Nice. Yeah, I myself am also not a heavy reader of
Yeah.
stories and literature and all that good stuff. But that is mostly because I am on the same boat as you, Hollis. But for my job, I read heavy, put you to sleep manual, textbooks, study guide, thingamajigs.
Yeah.
So after doing that, I really don't. I escape through card games, through wonderful FFG related
Yes.
propaganda and materials and all their branches of this lovely game of Android Netrunner. Anyway, so that is the backstory of both of us are not heavy readers. So Reader's Digest version, too long, didn't read. Did you enjoy Monitor?
Yeah. It was exactly pretty much what I would expect from a book like this. It was short, to the point, and it was actually very entertaining.
Yeah, I myself enjoyed it immensely. I thought it was a great read. I thought it was a great read for people, even if you didn't know anything about Netrunner. You could pick up this book and read it as a sci-fi adventure in the world of the Android universe. Little Easter eggs are dropped in it for real hardcore Netrunner fans of the
For
game.
sure. For sure.
But it doesn't take anything away from the story. It's not like I didn't feel it was forced. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it's not like all of a sudden they went out and they're like, you need to include a minimum of 15 Netrunner references, and we will, consider this a Netrunner universe story. I thought everything flowed very, very well.
I agree. And to me, what made it so interesting is that what makes it so interesting to me is that the actual world itself, it kind of connects really well to things that we face in the current world, which I think we'll go into as we discuss it in a minute. But that's one of the things I do like about it is that Netrunner is known for kind of, like taking an an abstraction of things that we experience right now in the current year, and how that could change or modify or develop as we go, 20 years later, 60 years later, 100 years later, into future tech. And this book kind of like touches on that. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So why don't you just basically, break down here. So we're talking about Monitor in the Android Netrunner universe. This is the first one, and hopefully a series. We know there'll be two for sure of novellas, they're called. So why don't you give the people a summary of the book here? What's going down here without giving away the ending, right?
Sure.
This is the spoiler-free section of the review. If you guys would like the spoiler version, jump to the next video or the next audio cast, and you can just pick up right away, and we'll dive a little more. We're not going to spoil the ending or the meat and potatoes of the story, but we're going to just give away a little more of the surprises that we encountered throughout the book.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep this very dry. So Hollis, take it away. Summarize this book here for us.
Yeah, sure. So without giving away any spoilers, effectively what you have is you have a character named Lana, and Lana is she works actually for a corporation that should be very, very familiar to you guys. That you'll discover as you read the book. That's actually existing. The moment if you're a fan of the Netrunner universe, the moment she tells you the company she works for, you're gonna go, I know what that is. And basically, her and her friends are really against the sort of concept of sharing information, which is, or I guess the abuse of information that is shared. And that's something that we're noticing, locally here in the States, where the question is, does Apple let the FBI, be able to have access at any time to their devices, so on and so forth. And the story sort of explores a development that occurs when a local network all of a sudden wants to, have a kind of new show, and they pick a new premise of the show, and they happen to be getting also a lot of bad publicity simultaneously. Haha, word use. Simultaneously, and so all of these things that are, those things that are happening. That involve Lana and her two friends effectively begin to unravel, and so they find themselves in these situations where they are doing things that are kind of like that are very, very sneaky, trying to get corporate information. There's a bit of a chase involved, even down to where basically for the most part they kind of all end up splitting and going their separate ways, and different things start happening to them. And of course, I can't spoil the ending, but I will say that when you get to the end of the book, there's definitely almost a direct challenge, a direct question that the main character is effectively having to answer. And her decision near the end is, you have to read yourself or wait for this to maybe discuss specific spoilers, but it directly comes to a direct question, like almost is, are A, B, and C, the way things should be? And her answer and the outcome is very interesting. Maybe, probably not what you would expect, but it's kind of thrilling. It's almost a thriller, right? I would think so. It seems very much like a thriller, given the sort of action and the running and the in and out play of everything. It's very, very, very interesting.
Yeah. I think if this probably was a movie, it'd be up there. In that suspense thriller kind of category. Right. So like Hollis said, that's kind of the breakdown synopsis. I mean, he gave very, very high level, a lot more high level than I would have given for it. But, I mean, he's keeping some of the stuff under hush right now. So let you guys experience things.
I'm trying.
So what did you think of the main character itself, Hollis? So I think that so let's say that Lana and Miss Bex Gleason are with kind of the two main characters on each side, right?
Yes.
You have one, Bex, who works for the corporation, and Lana, who is this small-time little, activist wannabe
Yeah.
person, just wants to do the right thing, let's help the world. How did you feel about the main characters and their development throughout the book?
So the one thing that I liked really I liked a lot, and obviously again I'll try to avoid spoilers. I guess I can stop saying that at this point. I like that they're both incredibly internally. They have another internal conflict that is very difficult for them. That basically shapes and affects how they operate on like their daily life. Like in Lana's example. There's a lot of undecided things in her life, and there's a lot sort of handed to her that she sort of takes for granted. And so she thinks that, having the ability to fight for, any kind of cause or a movement is something that is easy for her to put her, time and energy into, because there's not really much else to put her time and energy into. And then you have the opposite of that. And we find out, some flaws with her. But then you have, Bex, who is an incredibly focused person, and has something to put all of her time into. But you find that she's quite twisted in understanding how things are and the way things are, and she is the opposite of she doesn't want to protest it. She wants to, allow the status quo to persist. You also note how twisted she is as a result of having been, of being a person in that lifestyle. She's yet to be on the other side that Lana is, and Lana has yet to be on the side that Bex is on. And so it's interesting to watch those two parallels, because Bex thinks she has the right plan and she's just accepted things for the way they are, whereas Lana feels like, well, I have so much energy to be this sort of, this activist, but I don't really have a lot of difficulties in my life that would allow me to see things from a different perspective. I can be radical because it's very easy, because I don't have a lot of things are handed to me. And that's kind of how those two characters are. I really actually like them very much. I think that Lana was very easy to like. I think Bex was very easy to dislike. And I think that's really, really good, because one of my personal things is that I know a lot of people love stories where the villain and protagonist, and antagonists are ambiguous for a while, but knowing they're very clear cut, I was really interested, especially because it's, the book is small, it's only 100 pages. I wanted to see where those two differences started to meet, and I think that by establishing a very, very clearly, this person is trying to do the best, this person's not trying to be the best. We were able to kind of watch a conflict just begin from the start. Like, it's so neat.
Yeah, I think the pace of the character development was very, very well done.
Yep.
And, to touch on a point that you said, Lana was really easy to like.
Yep.
And Bex was really easy to, not hate, but kind of like define as the so-and-so villain. But another side of that is, and it might just be from the way that I read it and relate it to my stuff, being in a, corporate world out there, even though Bex was the villain, I could very much relate to what she's doing, because all she was doing was pushing forward her job.
Yep.
Right? Like,
yeah.
I just want to, how can I make it to the next level? You
Yep.
can tell that she was the kind of person that was, started from the bottom. Now she's here.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. She wants to continue to impress her leadership, and she doesn't have no time for anybody but, not even the middle management or the, I don't care if you're a director or a VP, like, give me the big boss CEO. I want to tell my idea to that person because I just need to, to impress these people only. I don't care about this middle part of the sandwich here.
Yes.
But just her drive and her dedication, and like the book talks about her working long hours by herself in dark rooms, and she's taking stims to stay awake and to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. You can relate to that, and you can see that person on the other side. right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's the gray area that the story develops. It's not really she's so much as a villain as someone that just, came along and is doing her job in the future, and if her job is to report the news because this stuff gets set into motion because of something that Lana does that she technically really shouldn't have done, right? And in the future, NBN and all that stuff, they say that you've signed releases, the eyes are everywhere, so people know they're being watched and recorded, and then things happen and get put together. So I love the way the characters developed and the way that Lana kind of goes into this as one person, and gets tumbled around the dryer, and then comes out something else, with a little dirt on her.
Yeah, I mean that's actually a really good point. She's very clearly motivated to advance her career, and she's not a dummy. She's she's very smart.
Bex, right? We're talking or
Bex, yeah. Talking about Bex. Sorry, we're talking, like, she's a very smart, motivated woman, and exactly like you said, she doesn't have time for anyone below her. She's very, hey, I need to speak to management. Let me tell management what I have planned. They're gonna love it. Like I am the visionary for what we are doing here. I need them to understand it. So yeah, I totally agree with that. She's such an interesting character.
Do you find the characters? Well, I've already touched on it myself. In Bex being relatable. Do you find other characters in the story relatable?
There's sort of one. Her two main friends are really interesting, and I can relate to them in different ways. So she has one friend named Tim. Tim has, and I don't think this is really a spoiler to talk about this. Tim has a sick mother. And basically, Tim is the kind of guy where he's definitely all in for his friends, but his family definitely comes first. And there's a point in the story where Tim basically has to make a very difficult decision about his next actions because they affect both his friends and his family. And I think that I relate to Tim primarily because of we've all had those professional choices where it's you have to do XYZ things and spend time here at the job and do these things that are necessary. And we've all had to say, well, but I mean, I've got these plans. My friends are going to go out. We're going to Coachella, or like any number of activities where you have to actually make a difficult decision to say, hey, am I going to do this for my job? It's what my job is asking of me, or am I going to do this thing for my personal mental health, for my family, for my friends? He has to make a decision like that. And the other person is Johnny, and I think I relate to Johnny primarily because he's sort of the Joker / prankster of all of them. He's always coming up with these really silly, not really well thought out ideas, and he's also the most vocal. So it's like me to a T. Like he's the most vocal, but he doesn't always have the plan set up yet. He wants to get his thoughts out there.
I think Johnny's going to be relatable to a lot of people because he's that kind of guy that it's that whole when the internet was made and people are like, I can be anybody who I want on the internet. And he's like every day he's like he can be somebody new if he wants to be somebody new.
Yeah,
right.
He loves that idea too. He loves it.
So I think it's kind of cool from that side of things. Other than that, the other characters are kind of sub characters, and I don't think there's really any ones that unless you're the big boss and you're reading this, you might relate to some of the shadowy figures. But I think from the everyday person, those are the kind of things they're going to pick out.
Right.
How did you like how the story was told, the point of view of it?
So it's definitely, we're definitely on the outside looking in. It's not, Lana isn't speaking in first person, or, basically we never really take her individual perspective. It's always the third person.
Yeah,
where,
I think that's how it goes third.
Yeah, where all information is basically explained to us as if we're an onlooker. And I think that was actually a fine way to deliver it. The thing is, they actually throw in a lot of characters.
Yeah.
So it's and they also sometimes they'll change. There's time. There are a few small time jumps.
Thinking of that now? Is that kind of cool? Is third person and the whole thing's about monitoring and watching people?
Yeah, no, yeah, it is right. Yeah,
What?
it's
There you
maybe
go.
like no, I mean it definitely. What's funny about it is that the IP, like in general, the sorry, the not the IP, the the actual concept of the novel plays into how it actually reads out because you have to think about it like I mean, let's not pull any punches. The book is called Monitor, so you would expect there to be a highlight on like a sort of voyeuristic like idea here where everybody's being watched at any time of the day at any hour, and you are now reading a book where you are almost intruding on these characters. And so while normally, if a book was written in third person anyway, yeah, it'd be whatever. Yeah, this is how the book reads. But it kind of adds to that. Like thematically, it adds to it because you're literally as if you are a one-person camera watching these activities of these people. And the book is describing you what's happening. You're watching them go through these things. You're like, God, I feel just as bad. I feel just like I'm one of the people that they're describing that keeps that at this scene is looking at them here or looking trying to find them here and so on and so forth. It's so interesting.
Yeah, looking from that perspective when we break it down is definitely well presented that way. I like the fact too that the perspective shifts. It's almost like one chapter is this side, second chapter is this side, chapter. So it kind of alternates back and forth, and keeps things flowing that way, very nicely.
Yeah.
So what about your expectations?
So the thing is because it's a novella and it's very very short, right? It's, like I said, it's 95 pages. I think is the actual number. I thought that it would move so quickly to where I would not feel any tension. It would just happen really really fast. I was very surprised because at some point in time, I think it was around I can't remember the exact chapter. At some point in time, I was reading maybe chapter 7, and I was going, this is kind of going kind of slowly, and then they started pushing that information, man, and I was like, oh goodness, what's happening? Oh, I got to keep going. Oh boy, and like I mean, basically, the information just kept coming and coming and coming. And what I like about it is that like the pacing was surprisingly really well done for a book that's so small. I think it actually kind of helps it. If you look at like a lot of other larger novels, much or just in general, just much larger books in general, they have so many pages to give you a lot of detail. Now in a novella, you have far fewer pages, so the details are going to be more to the point, and they're going to be a bit more shallow, but you're going to get it. Like the author Lee Alexander, she did an excellent job of giving you detail that I thought was very vivid. She made it like when she talked about the way screens looked or the way the sky looked, the way screens flicker. It was a very vivid description, but the detail was I guess the word is concise. It was brief. She didn't need to put a whole page describing like the how intricate the actual design of the screen was or how the city sky looked. She was able to basically explain that it was it was either beautiful or how gruesome or how hideous something looked, and it was very very brief. And I appreciated that because it let me read 95 pages and not 995 pages, which I'm a fan of. Goodness. Thank you. I'm just saying, George R. R. Martin spent pages talking about trimming. We're good. I don't need to know the trimming on the tablecloth. Thank you, George. Not necessary. Thank you.
Well, talking about my expectations were actually blown out of the water. I didn't. I went in not holding this to the level of. How am I trying to say this? Okay, so look at this. Android was released as a board game. From there, we got a couple books from them.
Yep.
If anybody has picked up those books, they are okay.
Yeah. I agree with this.
There is nobody saying go out and read these books right now because it's like how they tie in and stuff like that. Those books flush out the universe, and I don't mean to come down hard on those books at all because they're good reads if you're really a die-hard Android universe kind of person. They're a good read. This was a great read. My expectations were based on what I thought from those previous Android books, and like I said, it surpassed it. It was a really fun read. It's not a heavy read. It's not something that should take you very long. It really flushes out and puts character and defines some of the Netrunner people that you know and love from the game.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, like it definitely feels like the older books were to flesh out the universe. This tying in existing characters, definitely it feels like it better interweaves them into the story than we have seen before, which definitely helps. We have the Android, the World of Android book now.
Yeah.
I think Lee Alexander's book is helping bring it more to life with the characters that we know and love, and really kind of, it just makes the world deeper and more rich. We get to see a different perspective of corporations, of certain people, and that I really like. I like that a lot, by the way.
And if you really want to diverse into something, you don't have that copy of your Android universe with you. In the back of this hardcover book, if you are one of the people to get the hardcovers, there are a couple stories, like not stories, but what would you call them, Hollis? Like little informational.
Yeah, it's sort of it almost like it's an excerpt from the Worlds of Android.
Oh yeah,
book,
it is.
right?
It is exactly. It's the material that Lee actually worked on. For that, and it flushes out some of the perspective and gives you a little background history before you start to read the book. So if you skim over those, and if you're not totally familiar with what's going on in Netrunner, if you're just totally I play the game, that's it, I know what's going on. Maybe you want to start to those, give them a quick brief over, and then dive into the story, and it will just help you a little bit. Not needed at all because of how well this book was written from either a Netrunner newbie to a Netrunner novice level. Can both enjoy it because, like I said before, it's not shoving so much game stuff down your throat, right? Like it's not. I didn't find it all. What do they call it? Hollis, like game jargon, like you didn't really have to, they didn't talk about clicks and credits and, they
were able to keep the Android universe jargon actually to a surprising minimal amount, so that you didn't have to go be like, wait a minute, what is the beanstalk and exactly why is it relevant? Because if you just picked up the book without necessarily being super into the Android universe, you probably don't know exactly what the beanstalk is.
But even game mechanics, right? Like it wasn't like that you didn't have to know how to play the game and things like that. It wasn't referencing anything game related. I thought it was great that way. Do you have a favorite scene? A favorite little part of the book?
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh. Okay, so actually, one of my favorite parts is just because. So when I think about, I'm gonna take a page here that I just actually told some of my friends that I spoke to recently. So when I play D&D, for an example, something I love is I love the concept of like a cinematic image when you're describing what's happening. So if you were to think about what I'm describing as a DM, like try to imagine if it was a movie and these things were happening, how would you envision them happening? There's a scene in the book. Books do that too as well. To me in my head when I read them, there's a scene in particular where they are, and I think it's okay to say this. They're at the Rutherford Grid, I do believe, and they end up in this sort of square, and there's monitors like like Times Square times the Times Square big Times Square monitor times I don't know 1,000,000, and it's all like images of things that are relevant in the story. And to me, that cinematic was very sort of Jason Bourne kind of, or like very espionage sort of, like it had this sort of scary concept, because as it was being described what was happening, I'm going, wait, this is being broadcast on all of these monitors right now? Like, this just sounds so nuts. I cannot imagine being in the middle of this. Like, it's so, it was such a really cool, scene in my head that the moment, I actually, I wouldn't say I read it twice, but it was definitely a moment where I had to read it, and I had to actually, I remember I was reading at my, at my desk, and I set the book down, and I went, oh, wow. Like, I actually had to think about it. I was like, man, that would be nuts. And I basically just picked it up, kept reading, and kept going along, but I wanted to make sure that in my head I really captured what that would look like. Like, it was so neat.
So I have two favorite scenes.
Okay.
So one is a small, minute one. I love the fact, being a YouTuber, being a content provider, I love this one scene where she's kind of like low-key uploading these little videos, little video blogs to people.
Yeah.
And but she's checking only the nice comments, reading only the nice comments, right? And then
only the nice comments.
reading, like, how many stars did I get today, right? How many stars on my video? It's kind of like when I first started, you'd look in and be like, oh, only 25 people gave me a thumb. What?
Yeah.
Seven dislikes? Ah.
Yeah.
Right? What's this person with the negative comments? So it was kind of cool just to see her. She's like, I only want to read the nice comments. So I thought that was kind of funny. So one thing we'll say is that you can't have an NBN story. Well, maybe you can, but what's an NBN story without Jackson Howard? So that's the one little plot thing that we'll throw out here.
Yeah.
Jackson Howard as a character was so cool to see him flushed out and see how he actually is, pop up from the cardboard. And just the interactions between Bex and Jackson,
It's
like
the best.
It's so dirty.
Good. It's so good. I will say this. If anyone is a fan, so I had in my head how I thought Jackson Howard behaved and how he handled himself. And part of that was because, remember, when we got whatever that pack was that Victoria Jenkins came out in, there was that little it was like Jackson had invented a way that toys could spy on kids and determine what they want to buy later. And Victoria said, well, don't scrap the project. I'm going to give you more money towards R&D. In that little insert for the pack. So I had an idea how Jackson was. But remember, Victoria is the big boss, right? Like she's the boss of NBN, I guess, or the chair. Or so seeing Lee's take on how Jackson Howard is as his natural management instincts kick in, guys, I guarantee most of you will probably be surprised with the behavior of Jackson. He's so interesting. He's an incredibly interesting guy. Such a character.
Yeah. I don't know whether to love him or hate him, right?
Yeah, I don't either. I don't know. Like, what do you... I don't know.
I want to love him for the fact that, he shuffles my 3 agendas back in my deck, but this book really makes you want to hate Jackson Howard.
Yeah.
Just the smugness, right? Like he's so... Oh, like he's just so he's that creepy smooth,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
dude, I feel like when granted, I can't imagine what was going through her mind in the process of writing his dialogue and stuff like that. Maybe it was a really fast thing. Maybe it was like something that took her more time. I don't know. It feels like the entire time while she was talking about Jackson, and she was making him talk, she was walking one of the most amazing thin lines I have ever seen to make me firmly in the middle of how I feel about him. Like, so in the middle. I was just like, I don't know. I want to like him. I want to hate him. I don't know. Like, he's so interesting. She did a great job of writing that line for Jackson. So cool.
Yeah, he's such a... He came across to me too as somebody that he's not at the top, but I think he believes he should be.
Yeah.
And that's why when they come to him, he's like, no, you talk to me. He's like, if I deem it worthy, I'll pass your stuff up.
Yeah.
I'll pass it. And I was like, oh man, he's like the kind of guy that's just taking everybody's credit from from them, you know, like just that dirty man in the middle boss, and you can never get a word. Like I don't think you can finish a sentence with Jackson Howard, right? Like
I don't think so. I think that's his. I think that is literally his shtick. Like he's the guy. Like it's not a joke. He is the guy. He can talk you to death if he wants to. Like he's amazing. I love it. I love it.
so I think you should definitely definitely get this book and check it out for that fact alone.
Yeah, for sure.
Jump into the spoiler side of this as we flush out some other interesting things. There's some other characters in here that pop up that we don't want to kind of we want you guys to experience it as we experienced it. So if you're a fan of Netrunner, you will love the connections that come up in this book. Some are Easter egged, and only maybe the slyest will get it. But you have characters, you have places, you have devices. It's so cool. Now, let us talk about. We've praised this book. It's well worth the pickup. Let's talk about. I hate to do it, but let's talk about the negatives, Hollis.
Oh no. Okay, we can do it. We're in. I'm in. I got you.
What did you like least about this book?
What did I like the least? Okay, so
and not one of those cheesy. Oh, I didn't like it because it was so small, and I wish there was more.
No. Yeah. I mean, if we're gonna be super critical, we have to look at the negative as well.
Yeah.
So, the thing the thing I believe I liked the least about the book was that it was so short. No, it was What I like the least is the fact that some of the changes I mentioned before that like a positive is that like some of the changes could happen without a lot of like lead time, right? Like I didn't have to read 5 pages to understand like where they were and get a descriptive understanding of the universe itself, right? She was able to give a very vivid description without taking a ton of pages to do it. The negative is that sometimes when when they were moving from location to location, there were most definitely times where I felt like there should be more here. Where, for example, there's a point where basically there's a time lapse of like a couple weeks, but in that couple weeks they tell you that she's been doing things, but like there's that portion is very critical, in my opinion, to framing the kind of character that Lana is. And and I guess I am getting cliche a little bit, by it being so short, or rather, I guess really by it being so like, just so quick to get to, like here's the final the conflict of doing all of this and so on and so forth. I felt like there wasn't an opportunity to connect with the character that you were trying to basically make a very, very grandiose statement about in regards to her true character. And that, in this story, and I mean, if you guys read it, you'll know, that would have been really, really important near the middle to the end of the book. Very, very important that a lot of stuff may have been better fleshed out. And I think, I don't know what could have really been done differently except, add more content or make it more descriptive in those instances. But I would have liked to see that fleshed out a little bit more. There's another scene where like you have the other 2 characters. I think those characters didn't see enough love. They get touched on, and they're peas in a pod, and you get a lot of info from them early. As things transpire, as things happen, you get really less and less info about those characters, and that's we both are fans of Johnny. I would have loved to see more about Johnny.
Yeah,
I felt like
that's where I'll go from my point.
Yeah, go ahead. No, please.
So I think as a fan of Netrunner, and I mean, or a super fan, I mean, like we got our own little Netrunner show going, right? I think most people are going to expect me to say there may be not enough tie-ins to the characters and stuff that we know. Like these 3 group of friends, why couldn't they be, Andromeda, Chaos Theory, and someone else? Or why couldn't the main runner or the main You know, good guy, whatever it is it protagonist or antagonist?
Protagonist, the good guy protagonist.
The protagonist. Why couldn't the protagonist be like? Why couldn't it be based on one of the main runners that I know? Why couldn't it be Kate? You know, a young Kate.
Right.
But I think the love that the characters or that the Andor universe gets in this book is just enough. Like I think it would have been forced if you would have shoveled any more into it.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with this.
So the thing that I kind of didn't like about the book is I would have liked to know more about the repercussions and what happens to, like you said, the two other people. It's mostly based on Lana. So you see her, you see what she deals with and stuff like that. So there's the three activists, Tim and Johnny. They kind of come back into the story just kind of like to flow things along a bit and to help with Lana's character development, because you see how she deals to seeing them in certain situations. But I kind of like, it kind of like leaves you hanging just a little bit. It leaves things up to your imagination at one point. What happens to this character, and if you're the kind of person that likes to draw your own conclusions, then that won't be an issue for you. But I like somebody when I'm reading or when I'm doing this, I like someone just tell me. I'm like, what happened to this person? Oh, this is what happened to them. So I really would have liked to see something more along the lines of how those two other guys kind of developed as characters, and then what was the outcome for them. That probably couldn't happen because of the size constraint and limitations of a novella, rather than a full-out novel. If it was a novel, maybe they'd have like a couple more chapters or paragraphs or
maybe
assigned to them, but who are we? Say? All right. Now maybe also another downfall or good fall. Did you like the way the book ended? Gotta hit him with the truth, Hollis.
Yeah.
Real talk.
Real talk. I personally was not super happy with the ending.
But that's because from an emotional level, though.
From an emotional level, which is actually, that's better than being like the ending was bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I didn't like the outcome.
Yeah,
because I personally wanted a different outcome, and I felt like enough things had happened in the universe that we're in the book we're reading to where we could have had a different outcome. The outcome that we got was not the outcome that I expected, nor the one that I wanted. That's the honesty.
Yeah, I mean, so the last couple little bits of the book, when Lana starts making decisions, like there's a couple times when I found myself wanting to, just grab and be like, no, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah.
Like don't do that. They'll find you. Don't do that. Right? But then, the ending, I was like, oh man, no. I was kind of hurt,
Yeah.
I mean, that might be the sign. Like, sometimes the sign of good writing is when it makes you actually think and feel that way, right? So I mean, there's nothing wrong with the way the book ended. Obviously, the easy answer to things is, oh yeah, I wish it was longer. I wish we could, find out more, because nobody wants a good book to end. But I think it would have been hard to end it, like to keep going on with it. I think it ended nicely. I think just from an emotional level, we're just very surprised. So you will have you should have a nice surprise with the ending. I'm not going to say it's not M. Night Shyamalan kind of I see dead people kind of ending, but yeah, it'll make you it hopefully makes you feel something like it felt us. So there you have it, Hollis. Quick last minute thoughts and summary.
I think that what you said earlier, Jameson, you said, hey, at some point you looked at the story and you said, man, I kind of wish there was a character in the Android universe that we're already familiar with really well, that was the main protagonist, right? We do know that now this is an excellent book by Leigh Alexander. Leigh Alexander, I keep wanting to say Leigh because of how it's spelled. But I know that there is another one coming later that is not written by Leigh that is going to feature Rena. I hope we get a chance to review it as well. But my overall summary of this, in general, the FFG novella, and more specifically the writing by Leigh Alexander, is that number one, I was always hoping that they would continue doing novels or just even novellas for the universe, because in my opinion, the thing that makes me so interested in Netrunner is actually the characters and the IP itself, the futuristic technology that is there in a cyber universe like that, right? Is amazing. A future cyberpunk sort of themed universe is amazing, and I think that Leigh brought characters to life that I'm fans of from this. The fans of in Netrunner in her book, and I'm happy that certain characters, like we've already talked about Jackson, were portrayed in the way that they were. I think that it definitely brought it. I personally now look at Jackson different, and I know we're only talking about something thematic that isn't about how we play the game, the game of Netrunner. The fact is, I look at Jackson Howard differently now when I think about him as the character that's in the game, and to me, I love that. I think about some other characters way differently now that are mentioned than I did previously.
Because that's weird, because there's some other characters in there that I was like, this is exactly the way I pictured this character to be.
I know. There is one that is basically exactly who I thought they would be. I was like, this is expected. I got you.
It's spot on.
Yeah, we get it. But I mean, in general, I thought this was actually kind of. I read so infrequently. This was actually a legitimate pleasant surprise.
Yeah, it was a good refresher.
Yeah, it helped me feel reinvigorated about the Android universe.
I was like, if books could be this good, why don't I read more?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, maybe if you put all the flavor text together that we read at the bottom of our cards, it would count a novel. So my summary here, in closing, I think the book was really well written. I think Netrunner people, you guys should go out and get it, because you're going to love it. You're going to love seeing the characters that you play and come to life. The story is really well done. It's something that can happen, something that is happening now, to an extreme. The good stories make you think, right? Like, they take these sci-fi stories, they take something that we have now and just extend it a little more. If people don't think that corporations and companies are watching, you got another thing coming, because look at the technologies that's out there that Google grabs from your search results, that they have learning thermostats, that take all your information. People know when they turn your thermostat on how hot it is in your area. Learning cars, when you go into the mechanic, the databases that get pulled off them. We're feeding a lot more information out there to corporations, and for those people that are not in the industry, it's called big data. But big data mining is happening now, and that data is getting packaged, resold to corporations, and it's getting looked at as marketing tools, and they turn around and sell you things. Like when you go to Google, all your search results are analyzed, and that's why the ads pop up at the side of the screen the way they do. So this is not far off from where we could be in a couple years in a situation like this, and that's why it's such a cool read, because it's not an out there super futuristic sci-fi story. It meshes the present and the future very well.
Yeah.
Guys, the link for to pick this up is in the description of this video. If you liked it, read the book, then go check out what we have to say about the spoiler video. I'm going to shoot that right now, so it should queue up next. So make sure you stop if you don't want spoilers.
Yeah, stop. Do not listen to the spoilers if you are not ready. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to hear any complaints because we're giving you a huge spoiler warning. Don't watch it if you don't want to be spoiled. If I see you complain about it getting spoiled and we warned you, I have nothing to say to you. I'm sorry. Still, I'm too nice of a guy to not care. Unlike someone else that we're about to spoil, but I am not. I have no sympathy. Like you have to deal. You just have to deal. No spoilers.
This is a great first book in the Android universe novella series.
Yeah,
I fully endorse it. It fully has its the Bad Publicity stamp of approval. I wish we had some kind of cool video or sound to do that. But 2 thumbs up from me.
for sure. Likewise. I mean, I really did enjoy this more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys. Thanks a bunch for tuning in and help support these books. I know this is kind of dragging on now, but they said at Gen Con that they're going to do more, whether it be in Netrunner or not, IP extensions like they did with the Android Universe book because it sold so well. So, you know, if you like this kind of stuff, buy it, support it, so that way there is more of it. Thanks very much. We'll catch you later.
See you guys. Big letters so people don't get pissed for being stupid.
This is your spoiler
Pew, 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 pew.
review. You know what's really weird is that I want to say spoiler free because we are giving away free spoilers.
Yeah, no, it is free.
Free.
We're just throwing them out.
This is called The Deuce. It's the follow-up to the first episode. This is where we get down and dirty with Monitor. This is where we get into the pages, into the lines, where we read between those lines and we tell you what we feel, and we discuss with those people who have read the book a little more freely.
Yep.
So guys, get yourself comfortable in your favorite lazy chair, pour yourself a nice cup of Joe, and let's talk Monitor.
I'm ready.
Hollis,
I'm ready to talk it.
What's going on?
Hey,
I guess we don't have to go through what this book is about.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Let's talk about for the Netrunner people here.
Yes.
What are some of the cool things in this book that we did not talk about in the first one?
Some cool things that we haven't already talked about that are in this book that are spoilers.
Spoilers.
So we mentioned Jackson Howard. We mentioned her 3 friends.
Check.
Let's see. So here's some other names that come up. You ready?
Yeah.
Victoria Jenkins. How about that?
Boom.
How about my girl Victoria?
It's going to be one big name drop here.
Yeah. How about I don't even want to say her name. Jameson, say her name. You know, the one that is exactly like we thought she would be.
Carol.
Carol, that's interesting. Jameson, who's Carol Jameson?
Oh, Carol works at MegaBuy.
Oh, really? MegaBuy? It sounds familiar. I think I know someone else that works at MegaBuy.
Everyone's favorite anarch, Max.
Oh, Max. Yeah.
So if you heard the first episode, Max is written so cool. She is exactly what I pictured her off the card. She comes in here at the beginning, and it's so funny when she's just this Carol from MegaBuy, and all this, these kids are these little activists, and it's funny because they're like the wannabe activists.
Yeah, wannabe activists.
What do they? It calls it in the book slacktivists.
Slacktivists, yes.
They're slacktivists. And it's funny because they go, they find this pad and they want to hack into it and stuff like that and crack into these servers, and they go to work and they all work at MegaBuy, and Carol is there, and they ask her, they're like, Carol, do you know where we can get some used, hacking gear? And she basically just tells them to F right off. Like, don't bug. Why would I know? Pfft, get out of here.
How presumptuous of you
to
think that I would be of that ill, that ill character. But, she knows, though. She knew the whole time.
She knew it was going down. And then she like comes back later on. And because I thought that was just like, oh, this is a cool little Easter egg drop. They're like, oh, Carol from MegaBuy. And you're like, you know, while you're reading this book as a Netrunner player, you're like, hey, that's Max. That's kind of cool. You know, maybe nobody, you know, maybe nobody will pick up on that. Maybe some people will pick up on that. Fun times. But then later it's revealed that it actually is Max, and Max comes back. And it's so cool because it's like Max is that total punk rock. I don't really give a care about you. Yep. But if I help you, it screws over this person, you know, so or you know, the corporation, so I'm going to do that. And you really like Max really plays a big part in this coming in.
Yes.
You see how Max is living. I would, you know, Lee, I would love you to write the next Max book. The way that this character was set up and developed, I want to see more from her. I think it's so cool that she's got like that drop apartment, right? Like maybe her dad like pays for you know, a rich apartment down at, what was it, Archaeological 7 or something like that, or you know, but just what a prick.
Like, I mean, her flavor text. Remember, guys, her flavor text is "F you, mother," you know, F.
Yeah.
And like, so you read that and you're like, all right, maybe she's just being like this hardcore kid for no reason, just being rude. But like, as you understand more about Max, not even really understand more about Max, as you see her character in the book and how she's written, you'll go, oh no, that's really her. She really does not give a shit. To the point of saying, I don't give a shit. I don't care. I don't care about your story. Don't care. Sorry, don't care. I have it.
And then they're like, but no, not having it.
Yeah.
Shut up. Sit over there. You know, eat your little lunch and you know, watch your YouTube video.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much how it's treated. And I think that what they do a pretty good job of also they do kind of a good job also of showing a bit more about Max's character, not only in the things not necessarily the things she refuses to listen to or things she refuses to do, but in the things she does do. We get the sense of the kind of runner she is and how dedicated she is to the craft, because the point she makes to Lana is, I did what I did because there's something bigger than you that is important to me. You are a means to an end, and while I don't wish for your destruction, I don't care to help you. I have my own agenda. And that to me says a lot, because think about what it does. Think about thematically what that means about Max. Think about it. Max destroys 2 of her own like resources just to draw 1. See that?
Yeah.
See how that plays into it? She's like, you know what? I'm burning a bridge. I honestly don't care about burning the bridge. I need to get this done.
Yeah,
and this is super important.
And that's what happened because her location got compromised, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right? So she burned that whole safe place. But she was already pulled out at the time, right?
Yeah.
So that was really, really cool. But very, very thematic tie into the card. Boom. Point for Hollis. Hollis, what's another cool spoiler? Unless you wanted to say more about Max's character, but
oh no, we're good. Like I think people will love reading about Max.
Yeah.
So we talked about this a little bit with Jackson Howard. Man, what a talkative douchebag, and I love it. I didn't want to say this in the last episode, but he's the kind of guy that he basically interrupts you from talking. Like every opportunity he gets to stop you is what he'll be explaining. He'll ask you a question and then you'll begin answering it, and you'll get honestly near the tail end of finishing the explanation, and then he'll jump in. And not only does he jump in and interrupt you, it's the words he uses when he says, "Listen, friend."
Yeah, it calls everyone the friend.
And that, man, if you want to piss me off, dude, like, I can't think of a single person that would not really get legitimately pissed off if every time they were interrupted, they went, "Listen, friend. Hey, buddy. Hey, neighbor." Like, that would because it's patronizing, right? It's almost patronizing.
Yeah.
It's like, really? All right, so, alrighty, like such
Yeah,
like
you know what it
such-
reminds me of too is that that like big boss at work, right? That doesn't know your name, so everybody's like buddy or guy or but he's
Yeah.
like, hey friend, well, why don't you got to bring your numbers up a little this month, bring your you're not quite hitting your mark, neighbor, right?
I'm like, oh.
Should we review your performance reviews?
And what's funny the whole time is Bex is like, no, I've reviewed them already.
Yeah.
I know what I review them every day. Thanks. I know what they mean. I know what they say. And he's like, okay, we're just making sure that And it was like every suggestion that Bex could give that she thought it was one of those scenarios where he always had something better than what he was leading to. So he would almost be ready to make a suggestion, and Bex would try to be this motivated person that she is and cut him off and say, well, actually, this is the plan I have in place, and I think it's really going to, and as she would say that, he would jump in, well, I think actually that we have different data than what you would expect.
Yeah.
Let me explain why you should do this differently. And it was very, like, every single time, Bex felt like she was being
Belittled,
Yeah, every single time she felt like she was being belittled. And it was so,
and she's just like, let me just talk to Victoria.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he's like, no,
You got me.
yeah. It's so good. It's so good.
So I'll jump to the next one. The other thing cool that I thought, spoilers from this book. I love the places that some of it talks about.
Yeah.
So these, they're Breaker Bay graduates. It talks about, Rutherford Square. One of the cool ones I liked that they kept referring to was Arcology 7.
Yeah.
As their apartments that they lived in. And all I could think of was the tie-in was from Creation and Control, the Haas Arcology AI, and there's those two big, like, at first I just look at the card back when it came out, just two big towers.
Yeah.
And now you look at it as like, oh man, those are like apartment buildings and people are living in there, and then the Arcology AI is what's running the towers, right? So Haas Bayreuth is doing like kind of like a little building and apartment maintenance kind of thing.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Like they
You know which one I'm talking about, right? Like the
where there's a giant like sort of
the skyscraper that's lit up.
Yeah, it helps you with
Twin
advanced
Towers,
things, right?
man.
Yeah, like I feel like they fleshed out, not really even fleshed out. They used locations that we haven't seen, we haven't heard much about.
Yeah.
Like we know Breaker Bay Grid is a thing, but why? Why are all why are all assets in there that are getting reduced by 5? I don't know. We know that we know about Rutherford Square, and if you go look, I'm going to pull it up now. Give me a second. If I type in Rutherford Grid. Yeah, here we go, man. If I type in Rutherford Grid, what you see like a large, like you basically see skyscrapers, but you see a long line of this visual city where there's like a lot of advertisements, like a video screen, flashing lights, and it feels very much like, they actually make it to this location in the book, and it feels very much like this, where they talk about how busy it is. Or people they're near the square, they're walking in the street. And there's just video. There's this video. Video. There's monitors. There's literally large monitors like Times Square, just everywhere.
Yeah, and great tie-in with the card, right?
Right. Exactly. Like they make it seem like a busy metropolis.
Yeah, because the base strength of each trace is increased by 2, right? So like
Yeah.
they can find you, man. They can
Yeah.
find you because there's so many cameras there. There's so many eyes there. The vid screens that are all over the place.
Exactly. Yeah, that's great. I mean, yeah, great observation. That's definitely
really cool. I don't know when this book was written, like what the card pool was like, but I think probably some of the secrets were spoiled over. Some other cool things from MBN that come into play is Sync. Sync just came out in the last recently in the big box.
Yeah.
As an MBN identity. So that's kind of in there. And Sync does the whole data collection and monitoring and stuff like that division.
Yeah. And you know what? They kind of made a tie that I didn't expect. It seems like, because here's another quick spoiler: Bernice Mai's in the book.
Yes,
and it seems like Bernice is part of the sync branch, almost like she is responsible for looking at all the data. Because Bex is sort of the director, and it looks like, based on how I read it, Bernice is sifting through the data and doing her best to find juicy things and then moving it to Bex as she's requesting it. And all of the data is flagged by sync. So either Bernice is a member of that sync subgroup, or she's just directly tied to all the info that's flagged by sync.
Yeah, because they're like, we need this info, and Bernice is like, here's the file you need, right? Here's this shit.
Yeah, really, really fast. Which, again, if you've ever seen the Bernice My card, I'm literally Googling these.
Yeah, get it up.
Yeah, like if you look at the Bernie's My card, look at the way like it's kind of designed. She's sitting around with different data screens all around her, literally sifting through data. Her flavor text is keeping tabs on the world one screen at a time.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely I'd say she ties in with Sync.
Right.
She's part of that MBN Sync division.
For sure. Just like looking at all this data, got him. Know where you are. Yeah. All right, got this.
So you got the Bernice Mai tie-in spoiler. I got a very, very subtle spoiler that when it dropped, I was just like, damn. So what I thought was really cool was they're jacking in, right? So they've got this stolen pad and they're going into the NBN servers, right?
Yes.
And they're actually jacked in through brain nets into the web, and they make their way. They just about to get there. They see the file. They're gonna grab it. They reach out to grab it, and all of a sudden they hear this raven.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then right then and there, I was like, they didn't do it. They didn't get away. They just hit a data raven protecting that server.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, because it just says that, right? And I'm like, oh damn, they just been traced.
Yep.
Right?
And what's funny about that is that it literally, again, I don't have to pull that up. We know what data raven does, right?
Yeah.
In the run,
tags you, man.
Tags you immediately. No matter what you do, when you encounter it, either you want to grab the info and get tagged, or not, right?
Yeah. And then they didn't get away with it, right? So that starts the whole thing.
Good.
So I was like, oh, that's really sly.
Yeah.
Right.
Really well done.
Yeah, because they're like, I think because in the end of the chapter, I think they were saying like, I think we got away with it. We did it. And I was like, nah, you guys hit a data raven. You're screwed. You're screwed, man.
You got traced and tagged. You definitely got tagged minimally. Like you at least got tagged. They saw you. And I what's funny about that? That's a really good scene to bring up in the book. In general, I thought that was a really, really good example because they make jumps all the time often between characters, right? And that was one of the best jumps because they do this thing and they're like, guys, I think we made it. And then the very next scene is Bex going into detail about her new idea for a show, and she's like, "They thought they got away with it, they didn't." And when I read that, I was like, "Oh God, like here we go, it's on!" Like, so and that of course that entire event sparks the drama that ensues afterward, and I'm so impressed with how. That's the thing. I'm actually really impressed with how they continue the story the way they did. Because I honestly did not expect it to really be a new show pitch. That fact blew my mind completely. In fact, the way she pitched it was very interesting. The way Rebecca Gleason pitched it was incredibly interesting as well. She seems like a really good speaker. Like an amazing speaker. She's good at what she does. We'll say that.
Yeah.
Definitely good at what she does.
Anything else stand out in the book for you, Hollis, that is kind of spoilery?
Technically, I mean this isn't really. I mean, I guess this is a spoiler. So in the original, in the basic art for Jackson Howard, right? We see him sitting at a table.
Oh, and I hope you don't steal mine. Oh, okay,
no.
Go. Keep going.
No, actually.
Yeah, he's sitting at a table.
He's sitting at a table, and there's a ton of stuffed animals that are all around him. I think I know what you're about to say, though. If it's not this. There's a ton of stuffed animals around him. And they do a pretty good job of bringing these animals to life in the book. Like, these animals are now part of a different group, and I can't remember the name of it.
Sunshine Junction?
Yeah, the Sunshine Junction, like, animals. And they basically, they're a market, it's a kids' TV show. I think what I would think of it as, think of like Teletubbies, sort of. But or like Barney maybe. It's meant to teach a lesson to the kids, and they have like unique names like.
What was the other one with Broby?
I know that the main one is Diversity Otter. There's so many. They have so many names. But they're basically all part of a kids television show. And
Yo Gabba Gabba is what I kept thinking.
Oh, Yo Gabba Gabba?
Yeah, that's what, right? Like all just the little made up little characters.
Ah,
right?
I got you. Oh my God. So they do a pretty good job of bringing those characters to life, and they make what you look at Jackson's card and you're like, what the heck is this? And I know that why does he have all these stuffed animals at his desk? And I know that they've expanded a little bit about these animals, right? Like, if you go back, if you look at there's a card called Invasion of Privacy. There's like a stuffed animal with like a light in its eye. They cover that. Like, something like that comes up in the book. When you look at Dinosaurus.
Oh, that's mine, man. I was going to say, I can't believe that Jackson Howard created the Dinosaurus, man.
Oh,
Chaos Theories console. KCT, man.
Yeah,
oh.
It's nuts. You know what else is funny? So again, I keep.
So that little stuffed animal dinosaur, whatever it was, they're not really stuffed animals. They're animatronic little devices and stuff like that, because they interact and you fully communicate with them, right? Like it's like this diversity otter that Lara has in the book. It goes back and forth in like a full out conversation. Yeah, sorry, Lana. It has full conversations like, hey, I can do this for you. I can help you in this kind of way. I can do this for you. Come on, we're friends, aren't we? We're friends, aren't we? But you can see this little creature develop its own personality, right? Where she starts sending out little netcasts, and it broadcasts it out for her with parental controls on, so they can't trace her back to her location where she's hiding out. But she's able to get her message out and say, like, don't trust this stuff. Don't trust this stuff. There's always somebody watching. Blah blah blah. And this little creature is developing its AI is building, and to the point where they turn on the screens, and there's an activist meeting, and there's people destroying these Sunshine Junction characters, and then Diversity Otter sees it, and he's like, I don't understand. Why are they killing these people? Why? I don't want to die. I don't want you to turn me off. I don't want you to turn me off. And then that little damn thing narked on her. Boom!
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's interesting also because it kind of plays into what we see often in the Android universe, right? We see that there's this AI that's created, and the AI begins to sort of, I don't know if you ever read Gollum, which, obviously isn't Monitor, but Gollum was, long story short, in order to be able to make a borrowed brain, you have to have a mind map first. And you're supposed to delete everything in that mind map and then implant new things. Like directives or whatever, operations. And so it's common in the Android universe that animatronics, androids, these creatures that aren't real begin to have a space. They begin to think like a human would. Self-preservation becomes an important aspect to them. And that ending is, it turns Diversity Otter. And it's funny because I think she does a good job of making it really subtle, because Diversity Otter is scared. Right, like it's so interesting. Like, I did not expect that last minute turn. I did not. No way, no how. Did not expect it. No way. So good. So good.
What about some other stuff, Hollis? So you got Jackson, and you know he's sitting there with all his stuffed animal, or it's not. We keep calling them stuffed animals, but there's his friends in his office, and it's exactly like that card. Um, you know, Victoria Jenkins, she kind of pops up a little bit. Um, you know, we talked about Max and the locations. Um, let's talk about the three characters, the three friends, right? The Slacktivists and Bex. Um,
Yeah.
I thought they were really well presented to the point where I kind of wish that, or hope that maybe we see Bex. You know, maybe we see the way to continue this story is that Bex gets a card created for her in the
Yeah.
in the game down the way, so we can see something. You know, like obviously, you know, if you're listening to this, this is the spoiler, so I'm going to say it right now at the end. So, you know, she does end up with NBN. So it'd be cool to get, you know, an NBN asset card with Bex. I mean, they already have the artwork drawn
Yep.
for her. You know, so I don't know what the powers would be. I don't know what, but I mean, I think that would be a cool little extension tie-in, right? So, you know, the book pulls from the game. Now the game can pull from the book, right? So
Yeah.
a little give and take from departments there at FFG.
And I mean, I mean, it might be fun to talk about, but so Bex Gleason, what would her card do?
Yeah, you know what? Maybe let's do this as a side note. We'll try and think of something, but let's maybe run an official contest somehow.
Yeah, that sounds like a neat idea. Yeah. Like that, I think that knowing what man, like, or even like, let's say Diversity Otter was a card. Like, what would Diversity Otter's card do? Like, it's just so interesting to me that, you know, like I would want Rebecca Gleason based on the fact that we, like you said, often what happens is, especially in the case of Monitor, right? We already have content, and the book is written, and they can pull content from the existing IP. So Rebecca Gleason, you know, I don't think we've ever heard of her, have we?
No, no, she's fully made up from the mind of Lee Alexander.
And so, I mean, why not pull that character into the Android universe, working for NBN? And if she's in there, what the heck does she do? We already know that she's really, really good at designing television that gets audiences entranced. So how do you do that? What does that card do? Contest, damn it. Design it.
We'll think of something. We'll think of some prize, something or other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what yet, or you know, but you know, send us either post on our Facebook page or you know, in the comments here. What's your best card tie-in with this book? Whether it, you know, I'd like to see it just be a Bex Gleason card. Let's see your Bex Gleason.
Yeah.
But you know, if you got some other ideas out there, if you're like Hollis and want that want 3x of Diversity Otter in your deck,
3x Diversity Otter, man's OP.
yeah, is that going to be
Oh.
when Dinosaur cycles out?
Yeah, I mean,
Diversity Otter comes in.
you might as well.
I don't want
You
that
might as
little.
well. You might as well have them all in the game.
I
I
don't
don't
want
know.
that little whiny otter in my deck. I'll tell you that.
Hey, friend.
Hey, friend.
Also, did you also notice that parallel? Whatever. What's the name of
Junction?
the Sunshine Junction characters? They all speak like Jackson.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if that's intentional. Like, because he seems to have an ego, right?
Probably.
Like, he seems to.
NBN's all about the neighbor, right? Like they always say, the neighbors. Hey, neighbors.
He
Mr.
definitely
Rogers.
has an ego.
Yeah, so then Hollis, just speaking freely then in summary, so anything else stand out from you?
That's like a spoilery. Not so much.
Or just like you can talk a little more looser here in this side.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so, well, I'm gonna just lay it out there. So, like, my biggest complaint is that Lana actually fills a role that I personally don't like. And I hate to say that, but it's she's a young whippersnapper that, and it's her mentality that sort of bothers me. She's living a life where basically her education her education has been paid for, her living arrangements are being paid for. Pretty much, there's not a lot of struggle in her life, short of going to work and doing things that are necessary for you to contribute to society. Her problem is that she uses her freedom to take a stance against something she disagrees with. There's nothing wrong with taking a stance. But it's also about her current place rubs me the wrong way in taking that stance. Because she isn't a self-sufficient person. And it's very difficult for me as someone who is, because I am passionate about certain things, it's very difficult normally to take someone very seriously that says they're passionate about something when they aren't used to the quote-unquote, the struggle. They haven't really had to work hard or deal with other stressors that a lot of people may have to deal with. And I'm not necessarily saying that's required to understand someone else's plight or to support a movement, but it definitely adds weight to your motive for supporting it. And I think they make a good job of making it clear her involvement is very much her being bored. Like, her involvement is very much like, well, I have these friends, and they're kind of into it, and I don't really have everything else going on. I'm not really happy.
Yeah, I like when Max kind of sums it all up when she's like, I just wanted to do the right thing. I wanted to do something. And Max is like, why don't you just buy people on your line lunch for the week? Like, you know, like, you're out of your league right now. You're way out of your league.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she does say that, right? Yeah. She basically says, like if all you cared about was doing something nice, you could have chosen anything that wasn't the most illegal thing possible.
Yeah.
Like, there were better ways, way better ways for you to handle what you're doing. I think Max is right in that, in that instance, like, there was definitely a much better way, in my opinion, there was definitely a much better way for all that to be handled. And they very much, her and her friends, Johnny and Tim, they all jumped the gun, and, trying to get things done. And they all struggled as a result.
Where's Johnny?
Poor Johnny. Alrighty. Oh man,
where is he? Is he like? I touched a little bit on it in the non-spoiler episode where we want to see where these people go. Man, I need someone to tell me, is Johnny alive? Did those guys beat him? Did they just beat the hell out of him?
Johnny didn't make it.
Johnny done make it?
Johnny does not make it, fam. I believe the actual line is like, I want to make it also clear that this is important to know. Bex is a psychopath. Because when questioning Lana about everything that's happened, Bex is laughing at what's happened to Johnny. And she's directly caused it. Like, she literally explains, why do you think they did that to him? Do you think it's because of this, or this? Do you think it's because he's a snake? Or do you think it's because he betrayed you or betrayed the network? Or maybe they thought like he was a spy? Like, she literally is laying out every reason as to why Johnny didn't make it. And she doesn't care.
But I don't think they really come out and say, like, Johnny's dead. They still leave it. They still leave it to, like,
it's a little ambiguous. It's a little ambiguous. However, Lana says, "You killed my friend."
Yeah.
And while Bex doesn't say she killed him, I don't believe. I could check the last X pages, but I can't really do it live. Like, she says, "You killed my friend." I don't recall if Bex actually acknowledges that he's dead. I think she just says, "Hey, I mean,
it happens.
It happens.
Shit happens, man."
It makes me feel. I mean, Johnny was unique because Johnny, like you said, he was the YouTube guy, or just in general, the guy that had the full bright-eyed wonder of the internet.
Yeah. But it would have been nice to see, like, because Tim seemed to have the connections, He seemed to get, like, the guy, like, hey, I got a sick mom, but when they needed it, the brain nets and shit like that, he's the guy that, like, went and procured everything, Went and got everything, jacked them up. Really, really cool.
Definitely. Cool.
So yeah, I mean, I think the story takes something simple, like, a couple kids in over their head. And just runs with it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
If you didn't watch the first one and you're just hitting now, this has to be the best Android universe story so far. I'm really looking forward to what Dan has done with Reina. It was so nice to look at these four characters. Like I said, the three friends and Bex on this side. Unknown characters kind of get flushed out and inputted into the story. They interact really well enough that we're saying, hey, Bex should be in the Netrunner game.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see where Dan takes Reina in the next one. I assume it's maybe about her because she's on the cover and stuff like that. Right? But,
You would assume, right?
I mean, look at this one here. I didn't expect Max to make an appearance in this, but lo
True.
and behold.
Yep. I didn't expect that either. When I did first see Max, I thought it was just a very temporary thing. I thought it was literally just like oh, she's here, and they would never talk to her again.
Just drop that Easter egg, right?
Yeah.
Guys, if you have not yet ordered this book, have it on order. I really encourage you to go out and pick it up. I know that if you're actually spending the time to listen to Netrunner podcasts, you're a fan of the game. Let's call a spade here. And if you're a fan of the game, you're going to be a fan of this book. I can pretty much BP guarantee it.
Yeah, likewise. It was amazing to see. It was amazing with so few pages how she was able to move. And Jameson, you mentioned this, like, we're in that era now where privacy is like a big deal now.
Yeah.
Like, where literally everybody's connection to all apps is through a single what is it, like, I think it's called a federation login, where it's like it's everyone's logging into Facebook for all the other apps. That's how everybody's logging in. So what happens when, like, a company like Facebook has all that information, and they can just, you've already signed all these waivers, these terms of agreement that say, hey, they can use that information for these XYZ reasons to do XYZ things, and you're a slave to that. And it's funny, you don't feel like a slave, but in this case,
yeah, because they said in the book, right? Like, everybody has accepted and agreed of the terms and conditions about living in your apartment, working at this certain job, living in this certain neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, like, what happens when you install something on your computer? Where are we at the point now where something is going to be in there? Is Instagram, when you put it on your phone, it's like, hey, if you download this, we own your pictures,
Yep.
right? Like,
all of your pictures we have access to, we can use them.
yeah, we can do
need.
what we want. All of a sudden, you're the poster boy for Instagram, and you're not getting anything for it.
Yep.
Right. So, I mean, we're very close to this kind of stuff being a reality. So, it hits home. It's the right time for a novel like this.
Let me tell you what I think would also be interesting. Are you ready, Jameson?
Yeah.
Given the fact that we know what happens with Lana, I think it would be interesting if she had two cards. A runner and a corp card. Wouldn't that be nuts? That'd be crazy, wouldn't it? Like, it would be crazy if she had both a runner and a corp card. That's me. I think it would be good.
That's interesting there, man.
It'd be neat. I'd be like, oh, okay. I see. Very neat. Yeah. FFG, I don't know if you're ever going to listen to this. If you are listening to this, oh my God, please do these things. I would love to see Lana as a corp and a runner card. Make her a flip.
Just trying to.
Just flip her. Like Sync. Just flip. Just flip it. So good.
The other side would have to do something to flip it back. It'd be like a ping pong game.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? I think that would be cool. Right?
Oh, that would be neat.
You don't get to flip it. The other side, like, has to. The person you're playing against has to trigger the flip.
Oh, that'd be neat. Yeah, that'd be neat. That'd be neat. Cool. I love it.
All right. Guys, the link to buy this book, whether you're one of the lucky ones to get the hardcovers, or you can buy it in ebook format down the road for your Kobos, Kindles, Amazon Fires. I don't know what you kids are using now. But for your pad, if you download it for your pad, it's well worth it. Reasonable priced, and you guys will love it. If you're fans of the game, you'll be fans of this book. Go check it out.
Oh yeah.
Am I wrong, Hollis?
No, you're excuse me. You're not wrong at all. I think that
never wrong.
if you never. If you're a fan of Android, if you are a fan of the Android universe, this book is going to stick out to you, and I think that you are going to enjoy the way they have written these characters very much.
Fantasy Flight, bring on more of them. We want to hear.
Please.
Yeah, everyone wants to hear about spoilers for data packs now. Now start the countdown, right? When's the next book coming out? I need a spoiler. I need to make sure there's a couple more of these in the queue. Great work, guys. Great work, Excellent. Lee. Appreciate it.